I'm Vicki Hogarth, and welcome to Southwest Magazine. St. Croix Theatre Company is putting on the Norm Foster play, The Great Kooshog Lake Hollis MacCauley Fishing Derby. It will be in St. Stephen from April 19th to 21st, and in St. Andrews on April 26th and 27th. Here to talk about it are director Mandi Reed and Bert Deveau, who is in charge of set design and costumes. Thank you both for being here today.
Thank you for having us.
Tell me a little bit, Mandi, to start, why you chose this particular play by a beloved New Brunswick playwright.
Well, that's part of our mandate, is that it's a Canadian content, and I read through several of his plays, and I found this one to be very funny. It had a lot of comedy in it. It has heart, and it's based around a small fishing town, which is Charlotte County. It's not in Charlotte County, but I like the symmetry with it. Yeah, so, and then we also had to look at our choosing a cast. So looking at who the characters were, the age range, and whether we could fill those roles.
Bert, for people who might not be familiar with this play, tell us a little bit about what takes place.
Well, it's a fishing derby, and it's been going on for, what, 29 years?
23 years, yeah.
23 years. There's a prize, and it's grown from a small nothing to a huge
like
fishing.
So $92,000 is the prize.
And the characters are really quite well developed. Mm-hmm. You know the characters right off the bat.
Yeah.
They're fun.
They are, yeah. So the premise is they have this fishing derby, and this city boy his car breaks down just outside of their town, so he's stranded there, and he befriends the locals and decides to also join the fishing derby.
And what was it about this particular Norm Foster play that you thought, this is the one we're going to do right now?
The comedy of it. And
the comedy, the number of actors.
Yeah.
There was only 2 men, and we were always worried about getting men. And the number, there's 3 women. So it was an easy one to put on. The set is just one set, so it never changes. So you're not constantly redoing the sets. The costume changes are another thing, but
Well, the costumes add to the comedy of it and to the atmosphere of the play. So the setting is in front of, we call it Sienna's Grocery, so all of the acting and the sets are in front of the local grocery store.
Okay, and is that how it's written? So it's meant to be one set, or was that an interpretation?
No, it is written as one set. Now, because it is a fishing derby, there is a couple of dock scenes, but the majority of the play does happen in front of Sienna's Grocery. And she's also a character in the play. So
that must be, Bert, as much as it in some ways might seem like it makes your job easy, it must also make it somewhat challenging to say, I have one set to make this perfect. How did you address it as the set designer?
Well,
it was collaborative.
Yeah, we've been working very closely together.
We have, yeah. So
and it's keeping it simple, but keeping it clean, and that the actors stand out more than the set does. So, and what we have to work with. We don't have the space, we don't have the equipment to bring in like tons of equipment to change sets and camera, things like that. So everything has to be there and easy.
Mm-hmm. And as we mentioned at the top of the show, it's also moving the play. So you're starting in St. Stephen. This is at the middle school.
Yes,
St.
correct.
Stephen Middle School. 19th, 20th, 21st. 21st is the matinee?
It is a matinee, yes.
And then you'll be right here in this very building for the St. Andrews 26th, 27th.
And 28th.
And 28th. I missed that one. My apologies. Yeah. So that would be the matinee in St. Andrews. You mentioned that there were actually more actors that came out to audition this is before we started filming, than you anticipated. Can you tell me a little bit about the turnout for auditions?
Yes, we were very amazed to have that. I chose the play based on the numbers because in the past, when we're looking for actors to perform, we've had to just choose from what's shown up. I had over 18 people show up for a play that we only had 5 cast members for. So I really could have double cast this play, but the ones that did show up and the ones that we selected completely suit the characters and bring them to life.
We also had men show up, which is very rare. Usually you're scrounging to get men to show up. You know, a lot of time you have to have women play men's parts. But this time we had, what was it, 8 men?
Yes.
8 men show up out of, you know, which was amazing. And the age range was from,
What, 30 to about 70?
yeah.
Yeah.
So for people who are watching at home, can you give us a few names of people that they might see on stage that they likely know? There might be some repeat St. Croix Theatre Company characters that we know pretty well, maybe some first-timers.
Yes, we have some veterans. We have Chanel Gauchi, she's been in plays before with us. Erica Ingersoll also did a show not too long ago with us. We do have some new ones. Helen Johnson was always part of the St. Croix Theatre Company years ago, but hasn't done a play in some time, so it's nice to have her back on. The 2 gentlemen are brand new to the theatre company. Ron Potter, who recently moved to St. Stephen, and the young man that's doing the newcomer to the town, Jeremy Totten.
For people who are listening right now and might be curious about the audition process, especially if we're seeing that there are more men turning out. This is a good thing, but sometimes they can be shy. So I'd love to hear from you about what is the process like? If it was a first-time person, are they welcome to audition? And how do they prepare for an audition?
Directors choose to do auditions a bunch of different ways. You can either, I guess, make appointments and things, but I choose to do an open audition. So I'll choose 2 evenings and it's open. Anyone can show up, and as they show up, I give them character descriptions so they know the types of characters that they're looking to be. I also provide them with excerpts of the script so that they can look it over, and then they let me know through a form which characters they'd be interested in. And at that point, I bring 2 or 3 up in front of me in the different roles to play out those scenes, and I can see the chemistry with the characters and the people that are playing the characters, as well as whether they can take directions. I might switch them up or ask them to say in a different way or give them emotions to project while they're doing their lines in front of us.
And when you're taking that character that you know from both the script, Bert, and the person who's playing the part, how do those 2 things come together to inform the costumes that you put together for each character?
Well, it's easy. When you start reading it and you start looking at the character, you have a feeling of what they are all about. Like Morningside, she owns an antique store. She's prim and proper, and has to look prim and proper. So she's very sweet. Mm-hmm. And then you have Chanel, who plays
Rhonda Borkowski,
who's a cougar. And we dressed her up as a cougar.
Mm-hmm. We have a character named Kirk Douglas. He owns a fishing tackle store, as well as he's the mechanic, so dressing him accordingly to his job description and how his character would be. So he's taken that on and found some amazing outfits to complement all of the actors, and it goes very well with the set.
It's honestly one of my main reasons for going is to any play is just to see costumes and set design too. So I look forward to seeing what you put together this time. Mandi, I know that your roots are Charlotte County, and your roots are even St. Croix Theatre Company.
Yes.
You were away for a number of years, and now you're home. I'd love for you to just tell people about your background, both at this company and then your time away, and what drew you back to this very theater company.
Well, I started with this theater company when I was in my early 20s. I started off in small roles or backstage, and then I progressed into some main roles. Then I moved away. So while I was away, I also pursued theater and had the opportunity to do the same thing, starting off with backstage, small roles, leading roles, to directing a few shows myself out there. So I jumped at the chance to get back in with the theater company here once I moved back, and I did the show that we did in June last year called Hilda's Yard. I got to play a part, and then when our company decided that we needed to come up with another play for the spring, we created a committee to look at the different plays, and I volunteered to direct it.
What are some of the biggest challenges, but also rewards of directing a play in a small community?
Well, I think the biggest challenge too, especially, is choosing the actors. That's probably the biggest challenge. So making sure that the actors fit the characters, but also if you're not familiar with we weren't familiar with a majority of the people that showed up, knowing whether they would be able to take on that role and be able to memorize lines, follow direction.
Because there's a lot to it. I mean, when you have to remember all your lines, and you have to remember where you're supposed to be and what you're supposed to be doing. So if you're supposed to be picking up a cup, at that point, you need to be picking up a cup at that point. So there's a lot of these different little steps that we need to, to look at. We were very lucky with this one of finding really good actors.
Yeah. So having faith in your actors that they are going to be able to be ready to perform once our opening night is.
I can tell you from someone who is still struggling to remember the full name of this play, how much credit they all deserve for remembering lines, because even just remembering the title of this is challenging. Bert, I'd love to hear a little bit about your own background and what brought you to the theatre company.
Well, I studied in fashion at Ryerson, so I graduated from fashion. So I worked for the Hudson Bay for a number of years in doing windows and in-store marketing. And when I moved here, we retired and moved here. And I just got involved with at first I got involved with the St. Andrew's Players. And then I met somebody who was with the St. Croix Theatre Group. And the St. Croix Theatre hadn't done anything for a while, and I got involved with them. And then I walked out of a room one day and I became the chair.
And we're grateful for it.
For people who are watching this, and maybe they're not necessarily interested in being on stage, but they might want to shadow a role like yours, Mandi, or a role like yours, Bert, can they still get involved?
Oh, yeah.
We're always looking for volunteers. We always are looking for board members. We have still spots available on our board to join on and just do the back scenes. We meet every 4 months. So it's not a huge commitment even to just be on the board and help, talk about what our next steps are, or even be on a committee to do the play selection. I'm always looking for volunteers for the backstage. I found some fabulous people to help out with the backstage production of it, stage management, tech, and then through the set design, we've had lots of people volunteer to help build our set as well. So there's lots of opportunities to be involved and volunteer without actually have to be on stage.
When we are the audience, we see the dates that you're performing, and that seems extensive enough, but I know so much work goes into it. What is the timeline like from auditions to when you get to that premiere night? And
I know we've seen as short as 2 months. I prefer to do at least 3 months so that they have an opportunity to really connect with the character that they're going to be and be able to memorize their lines. We started our auditions in December so that I would have a cast ready to start our rehearsals in January. And I choose to do a round table for the first month, so we're just reading the lines, getting to know the characters, talking about the intonations and the emotions that go behind the setup and of each of the scenes, and then we go on to the stage where we work out the blocking and ensure that everyone's seen, and again, just the movements, you say, memorizing when to sit, when to stand up, when to grab a prop, and that
and the actors also, with the round table, get to know each other much better. It's less, they're not on stage, they're at a table, and we sit there and just they read. And they end up,
which helps memorize lines, and it helps them know what the next line is. We call it the cue line. So we always have, the person waiting for that cue line so that they know that their line is coming next, and so it helps them with that that process.
You talked about your mandate being to produce Canadian plays.
Correct.
But also a huge part of what you do is bring culture to our part of the world, both for the people in the play and a part of the play, but the audience as well. What drives you to do something like that, to give back to your community in a really beautiful way that strengthens us sometimes in ways I don't think we always realize when we're laughing and having a good time? But we often have to travel hours to see something like this, and then here it is in our backyard, and not just in our backyard, but with people we know, seeing their gifts that maybe we didn't know they had. To me, that is one of the most beautiful things about these experiences, is seeing the amount of effort and time and commitment and talent that my community put into enriching all of our lives. But I wonder if you feel that drive as part of your own mandate in terms of giving back in a really culturally enriching way. That's a very long question.
Yes, I'm a huge advocate for local and community entertainment, and it gives back to the community. It's like you say, it's a way of entertaining.
It's fun.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's also interesting because with our last play, The Hilda's Yard, I have actually had people coming saying, "Oh, did you have these actors that are imported?" And I go, "No, they're locals." And they went, "Really?"
I know, I love it. We are local, we are amateur, but we come with a professional flair. We really try to strive for that professional look, to give our local community that type of experience.
And I mean, I honestly feel that here at CHCO, to have a TV station in a small town, it gives the community a chance to realize that you don't have to leave to find these things. We can build them here. So it is really beautiful what you're doing. You must see that some people do go on to pursue it in different capacities, whether they audition for other plays. Have you noticed that since you've put this time in here?
Well, we actually do a bursary as well, so that to promote with our youth that there's theater locally, and if they want to pursue it outside once they move on from the high school. So we hope that drives them back to our communities and get back involved in the local theater.
You're saying more men audition this time, but also the age range. Can you talk a little bit about that? It's people from all decades.
Always, yeah. So that's one of the things I do love about Norm Foster. He does like to have a nice balance. So our characters do range from 30 to 62, I want to say, and I'm guessing there. But yeah, so when they came out, that's what I was looking for, where I needed a variety of age. I needed some that were going to look in their 20s or 30s, and then I needed some that were going to look a little bit older in their late 60s sort of thing. So that was kind of nice to see that we had such a great turnout with a variety of ages.
And we had some new people that had
lots of new people
that had never auditioned before.
So that's impressive to me.
Yeah.
It was really, well, we were amazed, and they were good, really good. It just happened that we had to choose the best.
Yes. And we had the opportunity, which is great, because sometimes we get very few people that show up, and we're choosing from the ones that show up because they're interested. So yes, we're going to choose you because you're interested in being a part of it, and you're, want to be involved.
Maybe we can make you look a little younger, or maybe we can.
Yes.
Bert, can you do that magic? I'm hiring.
We have done that magic.
We have, yes, yeah, that theater magic.
Are you at this point, when you're about to go to stage and you're ready, are you already looking at what you're doing next? Are you planning that next play at this stage?
Yes, yeah, we do talk about that. Yeah,
we'll have to get committed together. I know you don't want to give anything away yet, but do you have a play in mind for the next endeavor?
No, not yet, unfortunately. And I think, we were toying with the idea of a fall play, so that's something we would have to get on fairly soon. It does require a committee to read lots of plays and then come up with the top 2 or 3, and then bring it to the board as a vote to see which one we would go with.
And you have not shied away from doing plays written by locals in the past too.
No, because we did Riding the Wave, and that was a local play. So.
And I believe sold out. Were they all sold out? It was quite.
It was sold out.
And the media coverage of that, to speak to what you can do in a small community, I think your media coverage of that speaks to just how impressive an organization you are.
And it was very again, it was very well done. The actors were very good. They did their job, and they were brilliant. So,
as we get into the final minutes of the show, I would love to have you just tell people at home why they should come out and check this out, and maybe also let us know where they can get tickets.
All right, so the Great Kooshog Lake Hollis MacCauley Fishing Derby is an amazing comedy. It's very relatable. I like that we chose something that has even though it's not in the East Coast, but it has an East Coast feel with that fishing, I guess, topic or theme, the fishing theme. It's very funny. They will really enjoy it.
One critic described it as, it's raunchy enough for my father, but clean enough for my mother.
I wrote one critic down, I think he said, there's romance, heartbreak, and a shark attack. Is that true?
Yeah, that's true.
Indirectly, yes.
I think that any of us who live in small towns know that. I think sometimes maybe someone who's viewing this from a big city might think, oh, these are exaggerated characters, but most of us can attest to the fact that in a small town, we are eccentric.
Yes.
And these are real.
Yes, and that's the thing. They are relatable characters.
They might be fictional, but they're very real to those of us who live here.
Very true.
Yeah, there's always one who sprouts off things that you go, huh? What do you mean by that?
Is there one scene that stands out to you as a favorite moment in the play or a favorite line?
I mean, the whole thing has comedy throughout all of it, and even now when we're into dress rehearsal, I am still laughing at all the jokes.
Well, I thank you both for taking the time to come into our studio today to tell us about it, and we look forward to checking it out as well. We're always so impressed with the work you do and also your commitment to the community.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My guests today have been Mandi Reed and Bert Deveau from the St. Croix Theatre Company. I'm going to look down to say this time, the Great Kooshog Lake Hollis MacCauley Fishing Derby will be premiering in St. Stephen on April 19th, and also again available in St. Stephen the 20th and 21st. It will be in St. Andrews on the 26th, 27th, and 28th. You can get your tickets at Ganong Chocolatier in St. Stephen, as well as Cockburn's Drugstore in St. Andrews. I'm Vicki Hogarth. Thank you for watching Southwest Magazine.
Southwest Magazine is a news and public affairs production of CHCO Television.